Hey, it's Drybear. We just got a dev blog update for the upcoming Subnautica 2, and if you've never played Subnautica or Subnautica Below Zero, you definitely should. It is a one-of-a-kind experience with an awesome atmosphere, excellent survival mechanics, and a lot of spirit of being on an expedition exploring an unknown area. So we had Subnautica and we had Subnautica Below Zero, which was kind of like a sequel, but it was like a little bit of a different exploration. They did some on land stuff for that game as well. But one of the cool things about Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero is the devs very specifically made it so that we could go along with the development process step by step. So with those two games, they did a very early access version, and the games changed a lot from the early access to the full release. Even some of the major story elements in Below Zero got reworked or retconned as they went through the development process. And this year, we're going to get the early access start for Subnautica 2, which is already available on Steam. I recommend wishlisting it. This is going to be one of the better games this year for sure. Super fun and worth playing. You don't necessarily need to be part of the early access, but it's something to keep an eye on as it develops. It'll probably be like a year or two after the early access that the full game is done. But there's some things to know about Subnautica 2 that are different from the previous titles. The first one is they are doing a engine change. They're moving over to Unreal Engine 5, which means they're getting access to a ton of really awesome graphical features. Now, it's always been more of a kind of smooth, rounded art style for Subnautica, not super finely detailed, very vibrant colors and smooth textures and blending between colors, which makes it kind of have a little bit of a cartoony or claymation vibe to it as far as just the visual look of the textures and how everything comes together. So I think the art style will work great in UE5, but it also means that there's some new features coming online as well. Now, a couple days ago, we got a update on the roadmap to early access from the lead designer coming in and talking about the game, about Subnautica 2, and how we're going to be a big part of it as well. They also talked about how not only are they adding in a brand new world, Subnautica 1 and Below Zero both took place on the same planet, which had some infection going on that I won't spoil, but in general, it was focused mostly on the solo single-player experience, and they also had a ton of new mechanics in Subnautica 1 and Below Zero that allow you to kind of send off asynchronous gifts to other players. You could do a time capsule that you could put random stuff into in a message, throw it out in the ocean, and then other players in their own playthrough would find it. However, what's awesome about Subnautica 2 is they are including multiplayer or co-op. So you can still play it solo like you can with all the other Subnauticas and still have that experience, but now you're going to be able to play in co-op with the building exercises, hanging out with your friends, and I think this is also going to lend itself to some really unique experiences that Subnautica hasn't had before, because part of Subnautica is exploring the depths of the ocean, finding just horrible monsters you didn't know existed, but finding those together with someone else would be a brand new experience that Subnautica hasn't had before. Now, while it looks like they're planning to bring Subnautica 2 to at least Xbox, especially across the Game Pass system in general, you can find it on Steam already and add to wishlist. It is also going to be coming to Epic Games Launcher as well. So primarily meant as PC, but it looks like there will be some support for the Xbox as well, if that's what you're looking for. So again, be sure to wishlist this. It is now available to do this as part of it, and this is one of my favorite survival games. This and Green Hell, I think, are the two best survival game experiences that you can get on the market right now, as far as like a single, end-to-end single player or co-op player experience. Now, if you've never done like their Unknown Worlds, like their specific development process from early access to later, like I mentioned earlier, Below Zero, when it first came out in early access, had a completely different story. There was a ton of feedback on the story in general and where it was going, but they completely reworked a large chunk of the story for these Below Zero release, and we'll probably end up seeing similar things here. And it's super fun to be able to dive into this for the first time, test out the new attachments, the building system, and I'm also very curious to see how the game feels compared to how it was on their last engines, because there's definitely benefits to going to Unreal and there's downsides, and it depends on how they engineer it and how they put the game together, how it's going to feel when you're doing this game on Unreal 5. But overall, hopefully it ends up being a highly performant but very beautiful transition over to Unreal, and I think a lot of studios now are moving over to Unreal 5 just because it seems to be stabilizing after a couple years, and it's also Unreal being the most popular engine in the world. It is much easier easier to hire for, because it means you don't have to teach people a proprietary system or engine that they've never used before. But if you're someone who doesn't want to go along with the early access process, or you just want to wait until it's live, their schedules are pretty straightforward for the last 2 games. They seem to be kind of chugging along on their own track, and so you will be seeing Subnautica 2 probably next year sometime for the 1.0 release, the full release, and that's going to have a lot of the issues worked out, the campaign fully implemented, and everything along the lines. But building your own building, doing your special jukeboxes, the vibe of playing Subnautica when everyone's playing it for the first time, checking out all the new monsters and areas to explore, and also where they've gone with the story, right? Because Subnautica 1 was about being, crash landing on an unknown planet that's primarily ocean and not much landmass. Subnautica 2 was like the prequel before things actually got there, and you get to learn a little bit more about that story. And then Subnautica 2 is supposedly a brand new area that we've never experienced. There's going to be obviously similar life forms that what we've seen, but there are new ones as well that we haven't encountered before. And what's cool about this too is, even though there is a good foundation for building, crafting, collecting, doing the survival game genre, and just staying alive and enjoying those kinds of things in Subnautica, it is also an excellent campaign experience, and many people would consider Subnautica on the side of horror, especially if you have thalassophobia or anything to do with the unknown or the deep dark or monsters lurking in the dark, or like, gigantism, large creatures that are way bigger than you and also aggressive and want to eat you. That's what Subnautica is all about, is running, you have to keep diving deeper into the water, diving in too deep, and then you keep encountering things that are horrifying in its process. And there's even some really cool mods you can get for Subnautica 1 and the Below Zero extension that make it even scarier. And they do mention that they want everyone involved in this giving feedback on it, so be sure to head over to their Discord. I'll leave that link down below, and give feedback on what you hope to see in Subnautica. And also just let me know if you've played Subnautica before, if it's a game you've never explored. I'm very curious if there's other people out there who have never played it. If so, you should probably just start now, play Subnautica, maybe Below Zero first, then Subnautica 1, and then Subnautica 2 early access when it comes out, hopefully in the next few months, and then just kind of experience that, because it's, like I said, it's one of a kind. You have to try it. So that's the Subnautica 2 news. We can keep up to date as this trickles out. They've been kind of radio silent over the last couple years, but over the last like 5 months or so, they've started to get a little more active. We got a trailer last year, and that was about it, but now we finally get to see that coming soon, and it is on the year for 2025. So wishlist it, prepare yourself, and get ready for Subnautica, and share your cool stories down in the comments for anyone who hasn't played, who can, live vicariously through you if they're on the fence about getting it at all. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.